Good morning, everybody. I think you can hear me okay. If not, let me know in the chat or make a comment if you're uh, watching the recording. I am coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. Um, we've been traveling. We went up to Washington. We're here this weekend for a wedding, but we're also visiting a friend and doing some pet sitting. We're getting very intimate with uh, a Yorkshire Terrier in the Yorkshire's home, the dog's home. We love that we can get our love muscles for pets exercised without having our own. And we have had that in the past. So today we're talking about intimacy in all its varieties. I love how when you say the word intimacy, much like when you say the word love, the default, the knee jerk reaction or response is they must be talking about romance. Well, for you pizza lovers or you Pittsburgh Steelers lovers or people who drive Saturns and will only drive Saturns, that's a love muscle that's exercised for objects that aren't a connection, a relationship. But just like love, intimacy is more than just touch. It's more than just physical. It is a connection, but it's more than just physical touch. There's physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, financial intimacy. Are you comfortable with each other? You and the people in your family, your spouse, your partner. Is there a comfortability to be vulnerable, to be trusting? um, that's kind of intimate. There's conflict intimacy. This is a really important one. Can you have a disagreement? And not, I don't like the word fight, but most people call them fights. But can you have a disagreement with people you're close to, whether it be your kids or your partner or your neighbor? Can you have a disagreement, trust each other during the disagreement, have a common goal of figuring it out together and walking away still loving each other? That is intimacy. So it doesn't have to be sexual or physical. In fact, I recently wrote a piece that talks about some of the intimacies that are involved in close relationships. Of course, the most commonly recognized one is physical intimacy. You know, you light some candles, you put on Luther Vandross or Barry White, and you intertwine, if I could say it cleanly. But there's also emotional intimacy. And I think what intimacy is being comfortable to bare your soul, to be comfortable enough to just say what's coming up without fear of judgment or the other person getting mad. And I think we attain that. We attain that great intimacy with each other when there's trust and there's safety, pretty much vulnerability, knowing that we're not going to lose ground. There's no competition. Nobody's keeping score. I think part of the challenge with intimacy and many times love is that one of us, and it could be me, um, one of us, one of you, is striving for victory. It's like, I want to win this. I want to get ahead. I want to be the number one. And for me, it's almost like intimacy is putting the other person before yourself. And is that bad? No, not if you want a lifelong, thriving connection. That builds intimacy when you put the other person's needs and wants at least at a level of your own. Nobody wins, both of you win. Nobody loses unless you're both losing. And I think that's intimacy, especially emotional intimacy. There's intellectual intimacy. I've seen people grow apart because one person is a lifelong learner and the other person at 30, 40, 50, 60 have said, hey, I've learned what I need to learn. I'm done. And the separation starts with intellectual intimacy. But if they're both trying to learn something new, especially if they're doing a new hobby together, that creates intimacy. There's spiritual intimacy, which is a whole nother ball game. Are you equally yoked in your spiritual beliefs? I'm not talking only Christianity. I'm talking all religions and spiritual beliefs. There are some people who are, um, what's the word I'm trying to think of? I forget the word, but all these spiritual practices, if you're not doing it together or at least supporting the other in their pursuit, you're going to lose ground from an intimacy standpoint. Um, Experiential intimacy. If one person wants to go for a hike and the other person just says, "No, that's not my ball of wax," it is their ball of wax. So maybe you can support them and go waxing together, if you know what I mean. A creative intimacy, curiosity is a great way to build your intimacy muscles. Um, Recreation and hobbies. One person might like boating, the other person might like bike riding. And if you're separate on that, that's fine, and to each their own. But also, you want to find something that you can do together. So that recreational intimacy. I've heard people, they were trying to find a thing, and they went to Hobby Lobby and joined a painting class, a wet on wet Bob Ross painting class or something like that, so that they can create an experience together, a hobby together, and that just creates more intimacy. I think I mentioned it at the start. Conflict intimacy, so important. Can you have a disagreement or a debate and stay together in that, acknowledging the other person's opinions? We all have rights to our own opinions. You don't have to vehemently argue that. Just to let you know, I feel a sneeze coming on. See, I was intimate there. I bared my soul. It could come at any second, and I will try not to get spray onto the camera. That's intimate, right? Um, Intimacy can help you build uh, the relationship. I'm thinking. I'm thinking as far as getting vulnerable. Sometimes you have to warn the person. Look, can I be totally, totally vulnerable here? I know a lot of people say, "Hey, can I be honest?" As soon as I hear that, I'm saying, "Well, aren't you always?" But vulnerability, I think, is a fair thing to say. Hey, can I be really vulnerable? Just bare truth with you that's not too comfortable. Is that okay? And if you have that kind of an opening and a prelude, maybe the other person is going to set aside the phone or whatever it is that's distracting them and say, "Sure, what's going on?" And then you're both open. When one person is just sharing in a vulnerable manner and we're not there listening to them, we're not present, our mind is elsewhere, distracted, that's not going to build intimacy. It's almost going to fumble intimacy. So again, it's treat the other person like you want to be treated. Love the other person like you want to be loved. Somewhere along the line, as kids, I don't know if it was 6 or 7 or 8 or 16, when we first started recognizing people not listening or not being with us, we lost intimacy. But as toddlers and as we're pretty intimate. I mean, I know when I was a kid, I think I'd make a big baby mess and nobody'd throw me across the room or out with the bathwater. They'd clean it up and I could do nothing. That was intimate. Um, I don't think they cursed at me, but I don't remember. So, hey, I forgot to tell you. Did I tell you I'm in Portland? I'd love to know where you are. Let's see. I have a banner here. So, one of the things that happens when I go on the road like this is I'm not as well equipped. I want to say I'm not prepared, but that's not accurate. I am prepared. I've written this week so many times notes and stuff like that about intimacy, but I don't have it all printed out as I normally would. I thankfully have two laptops with me. So I'm bringing up some of the things that I prepare. So just to let you know, on the weekends, which starts tomorrow, um, I will write some notes that I can share on social media, various social media channels. And tomorrow I'll be just drafting and crafting notes, excuse me, for next week, which is Empathy Week. So some of the notes that I share, if you don't follow me on Substack or Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or what's that one with the I? Instagram. I'm on all those. I don't know how long I'll last on all those, but for right now, I'm trying to build up awareness of love muscles. Um, People are starting to catch on. One of the things I wrote last week is even friendships need intimacy, right? A great friendship needs cultivating, nurturing, curation. Um, Good friends aren't just people you have fun with. They know your stories, they know your struggles if you share them, and your dreams. And letting someone in deepens the bond for that. I know a long time ago when I was going through a tough time, I had a friend who said, "Hey, let's just go out and have a cup of coffee or a beer or something and just chat." And she would get me to bare my soul, and she was a good friend for that. Um, and I appreciate that. So, Giggles, if you're listening, thank you. Uh, Intimacy at work. Can that happen? Well, sure it can. You build stronger teams. Um, Oftentimes, workplaces can be cold and transactional, or they can be places where people feel respected and connected. And that's not just leader to follower, but it's team right next to each other. I was a leader once, and I knew these two ladies who were inseparable. One gave a 2 weeks notice, and that afternoon, the other one came and gave a 2 weeks notice. Thankfully, we worked with one of them um, to say, we'd really like you to stay here. And so she reneged. She pulled back on her 2 weeks notice. And that very afternoon, the other person did the same thing. They were this close. So it can happen at work. It can happen with your kids. We've talked about that. And intimacy is a stepping stone to other love muscles and feelings and emotions. Intimacy kind of invites joy. When you're more open and you feel safe, you're actually more willing to be joyful and happy. There's no pretense. You don't have to act a certain way to be approved of. You don't have to be validated by the other people in your life. In fact, that's true anytime. Validate yourself. Don't worry about what other people think of you. And we'll probably do a love muscle on that soon, or at least down the road. Intimacy starts with small risks. You have to take small chances. You might not get through without getting hurt, but then just don't be intimate with that person anymore. But whether it's telling a loved one how much they mean to you, how much you're grateful for them, intimacy begins when you dare to show your true self, and then you go and grow from there. And that's kind of how intimacy starts, a little bit at a time. I love how many different ways intimacy can touch our lives. And again, it's not always a physical touch, but it is a connection. Um, so that's important. Intimacy, it could sneak up on you. All of a sudden, you're with people and you say, oh, what the heck? I'm going to tell them what's going on. And you tell them, and the friendship or the partnership deepens. I'm sure you've had experience with this. Um, so give it a shot and give it a twirl. Intimacy is often nurtured in quiet moments. It doesn't take a lot of words. Um, Sometimes just a smiling face or somebody sitting next to you uh, can open the pathway to intimacy. And you don't even need to discuss it. You just acknowledge it in your heart, and it'll come up again, and hopefully it'll even get stronger. So, intimacy really says, let's take off this public persona mask that we have and set it aside and bear our natural feelings and soul to the other person. Um, why do I have these on? Hey, maybe I can hear you now. I can't. Are you talking? Anyway, intimacy can make the ordinary seem extraordinary. Mundane tasks like grocery shopping or folding laundry, you can still feel meaningfulness with somebody in those quiet moments. And that's what's so great about intimacy. It doesn't have to be this big old fireworks thing, but afterwards you might realize that the fireworks were going off when that chore or that task is over and you feel the flutter in your heart. You feel the warmth in the pit of yourself and you say, wow, that was nice. That was good. Um, the dog I'm watching is in the backyard. I wish I could turn the computer around, but uh, it's a big backyard and he's a little dog. You might not see him. So let's see, what else you want to talk about with intimacy? Um, Communication improves, resilience improves. You know, um, in adversity, if you're with people that you can feel comfortable being vulnerable with, and you feel the intimacy, uh, the dog I am watching has the same color hair as I do. I wonder if we're brothers. Anyway, um, in moments of adversity, you find that you're more resilient and solving challenges is easier when you feel you can be your true self, bearing anything without judgment. Just spill. It's a good feeling. It's rare, but it's a good feeling. You know, you're not as lonely, right? Not as isolated. Again, I think the thing is get ego out of the way, let self esteem bring you up, and your empathy muscles bring the other person up, and together you get through anything. Again, next week we're going through empathy. I have some scientific figures, research stuff I'm bringing up onto the screen over here. Um, where'd it go? Wow, there's a lot of quiet because neither one of us are talking. Maybe that's intimacy. Anyway, while I'm waiting for this to load, oh, here we go. No. I'm out watching one of our videos. So, love muscles. This is an image that I created. There's four basic groups: connection builders, character strengtheners, heart expanders, growth and joy activators. And our love muscles course kind of is separated in those four divisions. There's over 40 love muscles that I have so far, and I can probably add a lot more. But you see, these are the leaves on the tree, and intimacy is down here along with communication, curiosity, and then there's intimacy. These are the types of muscles that help us form and strengthen bonds. And really, if you want uh, better, stronger relationships, these are some of the muscles you need to exercise. Empathy next week is also part of connection builders. We recently went through awareness and communication. Um, so, one of the things I'm thinking of doing is taking what's in the love muscles course and shrinking them down, not shrinking them down, but pulling them apart and creating mini courses. Some people have come to me and said, you know what, this love muscles course, there's a lot to it. Can you just give us a little bit at a time? I said, well, there's nothing that says you have to go from start to finish on the love muscles course. You can start in the middle. I do. Um, so that's part of the connection builders. And the love muscles course, you have videos, you have presentations, um, you have text based workbooks, handouts, journal prompts. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So just go to learn.buildbetterlovemuscles.com and you'll find out even more. And if you choose, you can sign up right then and there. Let's see, what else do I want to do? Oh, there I am. The dog's kind of going nutty. I might have to go attend to the dog. Um, so next week, am I traveling next week? I think I am. Let me take a look at my calendar. Next week, I will be in Empathy Land, which happens to be in Lincoln, Nebraska. Two different dogs, and they're big ones. But anyway, next week on Empathy, we'll be in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'll be closer to home. It's the eve of my birthday. So it's Mike Sansone Eve. You've heard of Merry Christmas Eve? This will be Merry Mike Sansone Eve on the 25th, next Friday at 10 p.m. Central. And we'll be talking about empathy. So that's, I think, good news about intimacy is it is a fixed trait. And it's different for every relationship. It's something we build with effort and intention over time, with patience and love, and making sure the other person feels valuable and important. It's not about you, it's about what you do for the other person. And that's the best way to build intimacy. And so I appreciate you coming. And I hope to see you next week when we do empathy. This is Mike Sansone live on the road in Portland, Oregon. And this video, we'll edit out the intro and it'll be live so you can watch it over and over again. I love you and we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming.